Welcome, interstellar travelers. Have you ever had a moment where you felt like you've been here before? A conversation that felt strangely familiar? A place that seemed like you had already walked through it, even though it was your first time? What if déjà vu isn't just a glitch in your mind, but a glimpse into a deeper truth about time and reality itself? What we're discussing in this episode: what is déjà vu? Breaking it down scientifically and metaphysically. How does it connect to intuition? Are we simply remembering something that has already happened? Could déjà vu be a sign of time loops, past lives, parallel dimensions, or precognition? What does science say versus what does spirituality suggest? We'll explore. Are we truly experiencing reality for the first time, or are we simply remembering something that has already played out? Introduction. Today, we will be diving into one of the most mysterious experiences known to humanity, déjà vu. What if déjà vu is not a mistake, not a brain glitch, but a sign that time doesn't work the way we think it does? What if it's a memory of something that has already happened, or even something that hasn't happened yet? How does this tie into something we all experience, intuition? That little voice inside, that gut feeling that seems to know things before we do. Could déjà vu and intuition be connected? Could they both be glimpses into a greater reality that we have only begun to understand? Let's break this down from both a scientific and metaphysical perspective. What déjà vu actually is, scientifically and spiritually. Some theories behind déjà vu: brain glitches, time loops, parallel realities, and past lives. How intuition could be linked. Are we simply remembering something before it happens? Let's question. Are we truly experiencing reality for the first time? Or are we just remembering it? By the end of this discussion, you might start questioning everything you thought you knew about time, memory, and consciousness. Here's a challenge. When you finish listening to this podcast, and the next time déjà vu hits, will you dismiss it? Or will you stop and ask yourself, what am I really remembering? What is déjà vu? The term means already seen in French. It's a strange feeling where something feels incredibly familiar, even though it's supposedly new. Scientists often call it a brain hiccup, where short-term and long-term memory misfire. Many metaphysical perspectives believe déjà vu is much deeper, perhaps a memory from another life, a parallel reality, or a moment of time repeating itself. What is intuition? Intuition is often described as a gut feeling, a knowing beyond logic. Some believe intuition is linked to déjà vu because both involve sensing something before the conscious mind catches up. Is intuition just us, remembering future events before they happen? Defining déjà vu, the scientific and metaphysical view. Scientific explanation, how the brain sees it. In the world of neuroscience, déjà vu is often explained as a misfiring of memory circuits in the brain. Essentially, your mind recognizes a situation, but instead of processing it as new information, it accidentally sends it to the part of your brain responsible for old memories. This creates the illusion that you've been here before when, in reality, you haven't. This theory makes sense. However, what if it doesn't explain everything? What if déjà vu isn't just a mistake, a moment where our perception of time shifts, allowing us to glimpse something outside our normal experience? Intuition, a sixth sense or a subconscious pattern. Now, let's talk about intuition. That gut feeling that warns you before something happens, or that inner knowing that leads you in the right direction. Science suggests that intuition is just your subconscious picking up on patterns before your conscious mind does. Metaphysical view. A link between déjà vu and intuition. Many believe intuition is more than a pattern recognition. It's a connection to something beyond. Some say it's a message from our higher self, a glimpse into future events, or even a form of time perception. If intuition allows us to feel something before it happens, is déjà vu simply the other side of that, remembering something as it happens? Theories. Some theories suggest that our memories don't just exist in our brain but in the energy field around us, like a universal data cloud. If true, intuition and déjà vu could be us picking up on energetic memories that aren't ours, but are part of a collective experience. 1. The brain glitch theory, revisited, a misfire or something more. We already touched on this idea, déjà vu, as a misfiring of memory circuits. Let's think about this deeper. If déjà vu is truly a brain malfunction, then why does it often come with a strong emotional or even spiritual significance? Why do people feel an overwhelming sense of meaning, as if the moment is trying to tell them something? And here's an even stranger twist. What about people who experience déjà vu in places they've never been, with people they've never met? Could it be that these aren't false memories, but real ones, just from another time? 2. The time loop. Hypothesis. Is time repeating itself? What if déjà vu happens because we are reliving the same moment over and over again? Some believe that time is not linear, but instead functions more like a loop. Under this theory, certain moments are so significant that when we experience them, a part of us recognizes that we've already lived them before. Think about it. Have you ever had déjà vu during a major life event? A conversation that led to a huge decision? A moment where you felt like you stood at a crossroads? If time is looping in some way, could déjà vu be a sign that we're on the right path, or repeating past mistakes? 3. The multiverse and parallel realities. Are we slipping between timelines? Now let's get even wilder. Some scientists and metaphysical thinkers believe in the multiverse theory, the idea that multiple realities exist side by side, and every choice we make creates a new branch of reality. What if déjà vu happens when two parallel versions of ourselves momentarily sync up? What if, just for a second, we're remembering an event that already happened in an alternate timeline? This could explain why déjà vu often feels just slightly different, like we recognize the moment, but something is just a little off. Maybe we are tapping into another version of ourselves who already lived this moment somewhere else. 4. Past life memories. Are we remembering a different lifetime? This theory suggests that déjà vu is actually a flashback from a past life. The idea is that certain moments, places, or even people trigger buried memories from another incarnation, causing a brief but powerful recognition. This could explain why some people experience déjà vu when traveling to places they've never been but somehow feel deeply connected to. Could déjà vu be proof that our soul has lived before, and some memories are bleeding through? If this is true, then déjà vu isn't just a random glitch. It's a breadcrumb trail left by our own soul across lifetimes. 5. The simulation. Hypothesis: déjà vu as a glitch in the matrix. And now for one of the most mind-bending theories. What if déjà vu is proof that we're living in a simulated reality? Some believe that our reality is more like a complex computer program, and déjà vu happens when the system briefly resets or reloads a scene. Ever feel like you saw something repeat exactly the same way twice? Or that an entire moment played out before it even happened? Could it be that we're seeing behind the curtain of reality itself? The science of intuition. What do we really know? Have you ever had a strong feeling about something? Like knowing a phone call was coming, sensing someone was watching you, or feeling an urge to go a certain way, only to find out later that it saved you from something bad? Some call it a gut instinct. Others call it psychic ability. Science calls it intuition. But what exactly is intuition? Is it just a hidden function of the brain, or are we tapping into something beyond the limits of known science? Let's start by breaking down the scientific perspective on intuition, and then we'll take a look at where these explanations might fall short. Scientific explanations of intuition. What does modern research say? Mainstream science has explored intuition mostly within psychology and neuroscience. The general consensus: intuition is a rapid subconscious processing of information that we aren't consciously aware of. Here are the leading scientific explanations. First, pattern recognition. The brain as a supercomputer. According to cognitive scientists, intuition is simply the result of the brain detecting patterns in our environment faster than our conscious mind can process. For example, a firefighter might have a gut feeling that a building is about to collapse, not because of supernatural foresight, but because their brain has unconsciously picked up on small warning signs, like the way smoke is moving or how the heat feels different. This theory suggests that what we call intuition is just subconscious experience built up over time. Deep diving questions. What about intuition in people with no prior experience? Some people seem to have intuitive insights without any known past exposure to a situation. How does that fit into pattern recognition? Why does intuition sometimes defy logic? If intuition is just pattern recognition, why do people sometimes know things that they've had no way of learning before? 2. The fast and slow. Thinking theory. Daniel Kahneman. Nobel Prize-winning psychologist Daniel Kahneman proposed that the human brain operates on 2 levels. System 1, fast, intuitive, emotional thinking, and System 2, slow, logical, rational thinking. Intuition, he argues, is simply System 1, our fast, instinctive brain making snap judgments before our slower, logical brain has time to analyze things. For example, when we sense danger, our intuition is actually our brain processing environmental clues at lightning speed. Possible problems with this explanation. Why does intuition sometimes feel like a message rather than a judgment. If it's just a mental shortcut, why do people report receiving knowledge or warnings that feel external, like a voice or energy? What about shared intuition? Some people experience intuitive moments at the same time, such as twins sensing each other's emotions. Can this theory explain that? 3. The brain's predictive abilities. Is intuition just a time machine? Another fascinating theory suggests that intuition might be tied to the brain's predictive processing. Some neuroscientists believe our brain is constantly making micro-predictions about the future based on past data, and what we call intuition is actually our brain guessing what's coming next. For example, if you suddenly feel like you need to turn left instead of right, and it leads you to avoid an accident, it could be that your brain subconsciously processed subtle signals, like a change in traffic noise or a shift in energy, that made it predict the accident before your conscious mind caught on. Deep diving questions. How do we explain intuition about completely unpredictable events? If intuition is just prediction, how do people correctly sense disasters, deaths, or personal events before they happen without any logical signs? Does this mean we are all constantly living a few seconds ahead of time? If our brain is always predicting reality, could this be connected to time perception itself? Where scientific theories fall short. What science can't yet explain. While these scientific explanations are compelling, they don't fully explain all types of intuition. Here's where intuition moves beyond psychology and into the metaphysical realm. Precognitive intuition. Some people report knowing things before they happen, without any logical reason. Can science explain why someone might wake up with a strong feeling of dread and later find out a loved one passed away at that exact moment? Emotional and energetic intuition. Many people experience intuition not as a thought, but as a deep emotional or energetic shift. Science has no clear explanation for why people feel instant connections with others or sense emotions from a distance. Shared intuition, telepathic-like experiences. Some cases involve people experiencing intuitive knowledge at the same time. This is common in close relationships, particularly twins or highly empathetic people. Science struggles to explain how two separate brains could experience the same intuition at once. Spiritual or supernatural intuition. Many cultures believe intuition is more than just brain activity. It is a form of divine guidance, ancestral wisdom, or energy sensitivity. If intuition is purely scientific, why have humans across history considered it a bridge to something greater? Perspectives. What if intuition isn't just a trick of the brain, but a glimpse into something beyond time itself? Science tells us that intuition is just pattern recognition or fast thinking. But what if it's actually a connection to the fabric of the universe? What if intuition is proof that time, reality, and consciousness don't work the way we've always believed? Tonight, we're stepping beyond the limits of science to ask some truly mind-bending questions. If intuition isn't just brain chemistry, then what is it? Metaphysical perspectives on intuition. Now, let's explore three major metaphysical theories that go beyond the scientific view of intuition. Each of these theories suggests that intuition is not just subconscious processing, but an actual connection to something greater. 1. The quantum connection. Is intuition linked to energy fields? Theory. The idea that intuition may be linked to quantum entanglement or an energetic field that connects all living beings. Explanation. Some metaphysicists believe that intuition happens because our consciousness is not confined to the brain. Instead, it's part of a larger, interconnected energy field. Example. Have you ever thought about someone right before they called or texted you? Some say this is not coincidence, but a form of quantum connection between two minds. Challenge to reality. If our intuition is tapping into an energy field, then this means reality is not just physical, it's energetic. Could it be possible that intuition is not coming from our mind, but from something much larger, like a universal consciousness? 2. The time loop theory. Is intuition a glimpse of the future? Theory. Intuition is actually a signal from the future, breaking through into the present moment. Explanation. Some metaphysical thinkers suggest that time is not linear. Past, present, and future exist all at once. Our conscious mind perceives time as a straight line, but our subconscious, or intuition, sometimes slips through the cracks and picks up information from events that haven't happened yet. Example. Many people have reported intuitive warnings that saved their lives, like a sudden urge not to get on a plane that later crashes. Challenge to reality. If intuition is a glimpse into the future, then what does this say about free will? Are we choosing our path, or are we just remembering what we've already done in another timeline? Could it be that déjà vu and intuition are part of the same phenomenon? A recognition of a moment we've already lived? 3. The collective consciousness. Are we all sharing one mind? Theory. Intuition isn't personal. It's part of a shared global consciousness. Explanation. The idea of collective consciousness suggests that we all have access to a shared pool of knowledge and experience. Intuition, in this view, is our ability to tune in to that greater awareness. Example. Many inventors and artists throughout history have described receiving ideas out of nowhere. Could this be intuition pulling information from a universal field of knowledge? Challenge to reality. If intuition connects us to a shared consciousness, then maybe our minds are not separate at all. Could this explain why certain intuitive experiences happen at the same time to different people? Like twins knowing when the other is in danger. Discussions. Can we train intuition, unlocking the mystical skill? Now that we've explored the scientific and metaphysical perspectives on intuition, it's time for the big question. Can we actually develop and strengthen our intuition? If intuition is more than just subconscious processing, if it's a connection to a deeper reality, energy field, or time itself, then maybe we're not just passive recipients of intuitive insights. Maybe we can learn to control them. This section will explore how intuition works in everyday life. Methods to strengthen intuition. The possible dangers of misinterpreting intuition. The connection between intuition and altered states of consciousness. So let's get into it. The possibility of intuitive mastery. What if you could sharpen your intuition like a muscle, training it to recognize insights, warnings, and hidden knowledge at will? What if intuition isn't just a random flash of insight, but a skill you can master. In this next step, we're diving into the practical side of intuition, how to recognize it, how to strengthen it, and how to separate true intuition from false signals. Because if we're just remembering reality, maybe it's time to remember more. Can we strengthen intuition? The theories. Metaphysical traditions and even modern psychology suggest that intuition can be trained. Some say it comes from energy awareness, others from subconscious training, and some believe it's about entering altered states of consciousness. So how do we develop it? The role of awareness, tuning into the subtle. The first step, recognizing that intuitive signals are already happening all the time, but we ignore them. Why? Most of us are taught to prioritize rational thought over feelings, nudges, or inner knowing. Exercise. Start a gut instinct journal. Write down moments when you felt something was off or when you knew something before it happened. Over time, you'll see patterns emerge. Takeaway. Intuition starts with recognizing the small, subtle nudges before they become full-blown insights. Altered states. The connection between intuition and consciousness shifts. Theory. Many cultures believe that intuition is more active in altered states, meditation, dreams, trance, or even near-death experiences. Why? These states may quiet the logical mind, allowing deeper intuitive signals to surface. Exercise. Try practicing meditative visualization before making an important decision. Quiet your mind and ask for intuitive guidance. See what surfaces without logical overthinking. Takeaway. The more we shift out of rigid analytical thinking, the more space we give to intuitive insights. Intuition or fear. Learning to tell the difference. One of the biggest problems with intuition is knowing when it's real and when it's just fear, bias, or wishful thinking. Fear is loud, intuition is quiet. Fear creates urgency, intuition creates clarity. Fear is based on past trauma. Intuition often feels neutral. Takeaway. The more you work with intuition, the easier it becomes to separate gut knowing from emotional reactions. Can we use intuition to navigate reality? If intuition is real, and if it's a skill, then it could become one of the most powerful tools we have. Decision making. Can intuition help us choose the right path? Relationships. Do intuitive connections explain soulmate experiences? Danger and warnings. Can intuition save lives? Many famous figures in history, scientists, artists, mystics, claim to rely on their intuition for breakthrough ideas, inventions, and even life-saving moments. The grand illusion of time. What if time isn't linear? What if everything that has ever happened and everything that ever will already exists, and we're just remembering it piece by piece? And if that's true, what does it mean for our choices, our destiny, and the very nature of reality itself? What science says about time, the illusion of the present. Before we get too deep into the metaphysical side, let's first look at what science has to say about time. Einstein's theory of relativity tells us time is not absolute. It bends and stretches based on gravity and speed. Quantum mechanics suggests particles can exist in multiple states at once, implying that reality may be far stranger than we perceive. Some physicists argue time doesn't flow at all. The past, present, and future could already exist simultaneously. If that's the case, then what is déjà vu? What is intuition? Could they be small glimpses into a greater reality where time is fluid? The metaphysical view. Are we tapping into timelines? Many spiritual traditions and metaphysical thinkers believe that time is an illusion created by our limited perception. Akashic records, a supposed cosmic database where all events, past and future, already exist. Could intuition be tapping into this? Time loops and reincarnation. Could déjà vu be proof that we've lived certain moments before, either in a past life or an alternate timeline? Parallel realities. Some theories suggest every choice we make splits into infinite possibilities. Could intuition be a connection to another version of ourselves? If this is true, then what we call intuition might actually be our ability to access information from different points in time. Consciousness. Are we creating reality? But what if time doesn't exist independently of us? What if we're not just experiencing reality, but actually shaping it? The observer effect in quantum physics shows that reality changes based on our perception. Manifestation and the law of assumption suggest we create our reality through focused thought. Some mystical traditions claim that by changing our consciousness, we can alter the timeline we experience. Could it be that intuition and déjà vu are not just glimpses of a pre-existing reality, but signs that we are actually influencing the reality we move into? The aftermath. Where do we go from here? We've pulled apart reality. We've questioned time itself. But now we're left with one massive question. If intuition and déjà vu are signs that time isn't linear, what do we do with this knowledge? This final section will help the audience apply these ideas in a meaningful way, whether spiritually, scientifically, or practically. Key discussion points. How can we sharpen our intuition and recognize its messages? If time is fluid, can we influence it? Manifestation, timeline shifting, synchronicities. What does this mean for fate, free will, and destiny? How different belief systems, spiritual, scientific, and esoteric, approach these ideas. If time is an illusion and intuition is a peek beyond the veil, then what does that mean for the choices we make every day? Are we just passengers in a pre-written story, or are we in fact the authors? 1. Strengthening intuition. Tuning into the subtle signals. If intuition is more than just a feeling, if it's a real tool, then how do we train it? Meditation and mindfulness. Clearing mental clutter makes it easier to sense intuitive nudges. Journaling dreams and gut feelings. Many intuitive messages come in dreams or sudden thoughts. Writing them down can help identify patterns. Energy work and chakras. Some believe the third eye chakra, ajna, is the center of intuition. Can practices like Reiki, sound healing, or crystals enhance it? Following synchronicities. Some say life leaves us clues. Is intuition a way of following the right path? If déjà vu is a signpost and intuition is a compass, what happens when we actually start listening? Can we influence time, manifestation, reality shifting, and synchronicity? If time isn't linear and our consciousness interacts with it, then do we have more power than we think? Quantum physics and the observer effect. Do we shape our reality just by observing it? Manifestation and law of assumption. If reality responds to our focus, can we choose a different outcome? Timeline jumping and multiverse theory. Could déjà vu be a sign we've shifted into an alternate reality? Synchronicities as clues. Many believe déjà vu and repeated signs, like angel numbers, are signals that we're aligned with our higher path. If our thoughts create our future, then maybe intuition is the bridge between what is and what could be. Fate, free will, and destiny. Are we trapped or free? At the core of this discussion is an age-old question. If we experience déjà vu, does that mean fate is real? Some perspectives say, fate exists. Déjà vu is proof we're following a pre-written path. Free will exists. Intuition is just insight. We still have choices. Both exist together. Certain moments are fixed, but how we reach them is flexible. Could intuition be our ability to navigate fate? Or is it proof that we're constantly writing and rewriting our own story? Final thought, maybe déjà vu is just a glitch. Maybe intuition is just subconscious processing. Or maybe, just maybe, it's a sign that time, reality, and consciousness are far more powerful than we ever imagined. And if that's the case, what else are we capable of? Taking the journey further. Perhaps we can take the next steps. We've just unraveled some mind-bending questions about time, déjà vu, and intuition. But what if this is just the beginning? To dive deeper, let's explore these ideas in a hands-on way. Journal prompts. Unlocking your own mystical patterns. Grab a notebook and reflect on these questions. 1 déjà vu deep dive. Think back to a moment of déjà vu. What were you doing? Did anything significant happen afterward? Could it have been a message? 2 intuition tracker. Write down a time when your gut feeling was right. What did it feel like? How did it guide you? Alternate paths. If reality is flexible, where do you think you could have taken a different path in life? What do you feel that version of you is doing? 4 signs and synchronicities. Have you ever noticed repeating numbers, symbols, or meaningful coincidences? What do you think they were telling you? Real-world exercises. Tuning into your intuition. Let's train our awareness and see if we can tap into the unseen. The first thought game. Next time you meet someone new, write down the very first impression that pops into your mind. Then weeks later, check back. Was your intuition accurate? Intuitive decision making. When faced with a small choice, what to eat, which route to take, pause. Listen to your gut instinct instead of logic. Do you notice any patterns in how it leads you? Dream recall practice. Keep a journal next to your bed. The moment you wake up, write anything you remember from your dreams. Over time, see if your dreams ever predict or mirror real-life events. What's next? A question for you. If déjà vu and intuition are just the tip of the iceberg, what about past lives, timeline shifts, and quantum consciousness? Have you ever felt drawn to a time period you never lived in? Do you think we're constantly shifting realities without realizing it? Is it possible that your thoughts are literally shaping the world around you? Would you like me to make a video exploring these mind-expanding topics? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for listening. Until next time, love, light, and cosmic blessings. Mystic Missy.